Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. I got a question from a patron today about One Piece. It's looking very strong. Sales are looking really good. The market seems to be eating it up, and single prices are very healthy. And what did I think about that? And so I came in here and I looked at the newest set coming out soon, Awakening of the New Era, set number 5. And so what do I look at? Well, okay, let's look at the sell-through rate of the boxes. Today is the 20, it's not the 20th, it's the 2nd as I'm filming this. And wow, pretty good for today. If we look back through yesterday, more sales data, scroll back through another page to cover yesterday, then we get back into the last day of 23. Very nice sales. Very good sales. So very, very strong sales rate on these boxes. And one thing you have to keep in mind here is when you see the symbol for they've included a picture and there's all this where they put some extra detail and the price is radically different. It's because sellers are selling things like partial boxes or boxes, and it appears there's some kind of tournament pack. I don't know what that's about, but um, there can also sometimes be boxes that TCG Player does not support on their system. So Japanese language boxes will sometimes get included like that. If it's Pokemon, it's common for dealers to sell 36 loose packs together. So be aware that some of these will vary when you have the photo included symbol and the little drop down that a description was included, and the prices are radically different. But that's not a big deal here. Okay, so the sell-through rate is really good, selling very well, and the prices. Am I correct? But the wholesale price of this, the original wholesale price, is somewhere around $65 for these boxes. And basically, if we scroll down here, we'll find the first whole boxes at $225. So we're looking at almost a 4x markup over the original wholesale price. And let me just have a small aside here. I had somebody recently claim that, oh, Craig, you go on and on about original wholesale price, and it's not important. Wholesale prices change all the time throughout a product's life cycle. And I could not disagree more. Wholesale price, original wholesale price, is very important. That's the price that card stores initially wager the most money on a product at. The price that they hopefully will be able to restock at in the future. And when prices go down, when wholesale prices are reduced because the products are so weak, it shows that the market is in turmoil and that either the supply is way too high or the product is just not selling through fast enough or there's something else wrong. It's a very bad sign. And likewise, it's not always a bad sign when the wholesale prices go up. Now, people will talk about certain shenanigans that some distributors play where they'll hold back inventory of a product, and then after the initial release, when card stores want more of it because it sold well, then all of a sudden the distributors will have more to sell, but it's at this higher price. But really, it's about instability in the market, and it's about store owners not being able to rely on restocks at a particular price. So it's just one more thing that store owners have to deal with. And so it's very bad when those wholesale prices go down during a product's life. But again, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are around 65 bucks for a box. So the sales of the boxes look really good. So if we move on to the cases, and this won't take us long because, well, cases never sell as well as boxes, especially on TCG Player, because there's always a lot more pricing inefficiency. But wow, man, the cases are really selling awesome on this. And if we go all the way back to pre-release, okay, so we've gone way past what we looked at on the individual boxes. But yeah, the cases are just selling amazing. You almost never see Magic products that sell this many cases. That's unbelievable. And remember, these are 12 box cases. That's why they're so high. But getting back to the point that I was making about the box price, there's a certain amount of risk here where is it Bandai that makes this game? Bandai sees this and they say, oh, the distributors started selling this at 65 bucks to retailers, and now in the secondary market it's $220. And so they'll say, we can just go back to the printers. We can print whatever number of additional boxes, and Bandai can then take those to the distributors and say, we want $60 a box now instead of maybe Bandai sold them to the distributors. I'll just make up a number, but $40 to start with, and the distributor sold them for 65, and now they're 220. And so it creates this really perverse incentive where there's a whole lot of temptation on behalf of the manufacturer to go and print more boxes because the market is absorbing them. The market is really willing to pay this. I mean, you saw how many boxes were selling, how many cases are selling at these prices. So next up, the patron who pointed this out to me, he also mentioned some of the single cards selling very well. Obviously, $3,700 for a modern single card is highly irregular, is what I would say. And so if we look at this, I thought this was real interesting. If we go back, the first completed sale was back in November, and we had a couple sales here that were at $1,600. So we'll just say initially the card was about $1,600. In fact, we had 4 sales here right around that $1,600 mark. And then more recently, we had a sale at $4,000. And before that, even if we were to try and discount that as an outlier, we had several sales here at $2,800. We had 5 of them. So we would say, at worst, this card had gone from $1,600 to $2,800 in basically less than a month. I mean, these $1,600 sales were December 9th, and by the end of December, it was $2,800. So we're literally talking 3 weeks. The price went from $1,600 to $2,800 for that card. And then I just took another example of a single card that had similar kind of performance. And if we go back here, yeah, we see a bunch in, we'll call that the mid 600. So we'll just say 650. And then we've had several sales here over 1,000, and we might call that, if we averaged those together, it'd probably be about 1,250 or so. So maybe it went from 650 to 1,250. It approximately doubled in, again, about 3 weeks. So there's a couple things to say here. It looks like the hype is real, and I use hype as like in a positive way here. It seems like there is actual desire for the product. It really is selling at a healthy rate at what I would say is very high prices. I mean, you're talking 4 times original distributor cost. And the boxes just keep selling and selling very well. So that looks good. The thing that I would caution people on is be careful buying into the hype. And in that sense, I kind of use hype in a negative connotation. Be careful when the market has all of this strong upwards momentum, be careful buying into it. Because again, the manufacturer is going to have dollar signs in their eyes looking at these secondary market prices and thinking, however many boxes we dump on the distributor today, they'll buy. They'll buy them all. They'll buy every one of them. And they'll pay us more than they paid us last time because we'll ask for it and they know they can sell them. So you have to be really careful because that temptation to print more is going to be very, very strong. And very few games have had the will to resist that temptation in recent times. And even, they could just come back and print a moderate amount. Maybe the price would drop, 10, 20, 30% on the box. Not too bad, especially for the long term, probably not too bad. That might happen. But what we've seen of a lot recently is the prices are much likely to fall than to continue up like this. Now, if you bought earlier, great. Consider selling. Because again, these kind of hype cycles, often they retrace. And it's a matter of how much will they retrace? Well, no one knows. And anyone trying to tell you they know is lying to you. But it's definitely a dangerous situation to start buying at this point when prices are this high. Now, here's the thing. Can you make money on this? Yeah. If you were to jump in today and you were to buy a bunch of boxes and you basically sit with an itchy trigger finger ready to list them up for sale, waiting for the market to maybe start turning south, could you probably get in and out of the market and make some money? Yeah, probably. There's no denying that there's money to be made. It's a question of risk. And it's a question of how much potential reward, how much upside reward and downside risk are you looking at? And it's these kind of bets that, to me, are typically not the kind of thing I like to get into. Because I look at a game like One Piece and, it's on its 5th set. they have been releasing sets pretty quickly. Didn't the second set come out a year ago? So yeah, 4 sets in a year. That's actually about normal. So they're not really releasing that fast. But the thing that bothers me about this is I look back to 2021 and I look at what was the state of Magic at the time. Uh, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms had just come out and flopped. Midnight Hunt came out and flopped. Crimson Vow came out and flopped. Double Feature came out and flopped. And so WotC had 4 flops in a row in the second half of 2021. What came out in mid 2021? MetaZoo released its first expansion. I believe it was June of 21. And there was a lot of TCG investor money that was fleeing Magic at the time in the second half of 2021 because of all of those continuous flops. And at the same time, Pokemon USA famously released 6 expansions worth of reprints onto the market in a 1 month period in the fall of 21. So Magic and Pokemon both got nuked at the same time in 2021, right as MetaZoo was starting up in the middle of the year. And that funneled a lot of investor money towards MetaZoo, which caused it to rocket off the ground initially with a whole bunch of money just getting crammed into it. I have had patrons message me and say that they are out of Magic for 2024. They're pulling out of Pokemon for 2024, not buying any additional product because they don't have confidence in it. Now, obviously, I'm a contrarian investor, and so I say, hey, everybody's negative on Magic, negative on Pokemon, the prices are low, this is the time to buy. I've always been successful as a counter-cyclical investor. And so that's why I look at something like Awakening of the New Era boxes at 226 when the wholesale price is somewhere in the 60s, and I say, man, that is the wrong side of the cycle to begin buying on. So, can you make money on it? Sure. Will it turn out like MetaZoo in the end? Who knows? That's a long way off to say whether or not it will. Maybe it'll be highly successful in the long term. Maybe it'll be moderately successful and you'll do well on these boxes, even buying them at 226. But the risk profile of this situation of 226 for a box when it's in the 60s for wholesale is just not the kind of thing I'm into. And this is why I keep going back to Flesh and Blood and talking about how it's in that kind of Goldilocks zone where it's got 10, 11, 12 expansions under its belt. It's proven it can navigate very difficult times in the market. And most importantly, it has the best competitive play system in the world right now of any TCG. And so it has a very, very, very strong network. You have to go back to that network value theory of TCG investing and say, how am I going to be able to extract money from this network in the future? Who will give me that money? And so you have to have conviction that One Piece will have the network in the future for you to extract money from. So maybe this is a good bet for you. Right now, for me, I'll pass. But in the future, if One Piece gets a couple more expansions under its belt, it looks like they have strong competitive play, worldwide competitive play that's very popular. If you can go out on YouTube and you can find just tons and tons and tons of play videos of channels working on the meta, solving the meta, talking about market conditions, all of that like you see for Flesh and Blood, then at that point, yeah, I would definitely start buying into One Piece. And I absolutely would not regret missing the early era here where, hey, maybe 225 for this box looks cheap a year from now. I do not regret missing out in that sense on different assets because I've been investing long enough to know that when you try to grab these, often it turns out bad for you. Like I said, it's a very high risk, high reward kind of situation, and you have to be sober with yourself over what those risks are and what those potential rewards are. So it's a really good question. It's interesting to see how well this product is selling, and hopefully it keeps up. Hopefully there's more good entrants to the market who can take some market share from WotC and force WotC kind of to rectify itself a little bit faster. And, it's always healthy to have more games pushing the state of gameplay forward just so we have more fun games, because games themselves and their rules and their gameplay are themselves a marketplace. And so hopefully we can push that forward and we can have more fun games as time goes on. Let me know what you think, guys. Your takes on this. I know saying that I'm not going to go with the YOLO and Wall Street bet philosophy and risk it all on $226 boxes of this today. It may not be very popular as a stance as a YouTube creator, but that's who I am. I have a very conservative risk profile and it served me very well over my life. Thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my generous supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade.